Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate how I cut the paper on my guillotine cutter, doing multiple layers at one time, just like that, and using the templates that you can print off the internet. You can purchase them from Etsy through my website. The links are on my website at paperbeadcrafts.com. And here I am just layering them together. And since this is a crosswise cut this way, this one happens to be 5/8 inch at one end and nothing at the other end. I'm going to go ahead and put my my binder clips across the top here to keep the papers together so they don't shift on me. And it's going to take me just a moment here. And this actually helps a lot to keep your papers from sliding apart, so that way you'll have perfect cuts every time. Okay, so what I do is, actually, you know what, I'm going to put the, no, that's fine. This particular strip on this end is actually going to be wasted, so I'll turn that into one of those waste beads that I would stick at the end of a string. And this one also here on this end is also going to be a waste bead because the line does not have another one at the very end. So this is just basically the way I cut these. I lift up my cutter here, I line it up carefully, eyeballing it with the dotted lines. And since the lines don't go all the way to the end, I actually do really need to eyeball it. And I hold this down. Actually, you know what I usually do is I use a ruler to hold the paper down. And I go like this, so that way the paper doesn't slide and I don't have to depend on my fingers on both ends. Just make sure you keep your hands and your fingers away from your cutting blade because it's very sharp. Okay, there's the first cut. And then I tilt it so that this wide end is down at the bottom, narrow end is at the top up here, and I put the pressure on the ruler to keep the paper in place, and I make my next cut. And then I do the same thing, put the wide end near the top of the cutter, the narrow end near the bottom, line it up. Again, since this one doesn't go to the actual edge of the paper, I actually have to eyeball it a little bit and slice again. And then I do the next one, and it's going to take me just a moment. This generally takes me about 5 minutes in all to actually cut these, if that. Once I get on a rhythm, it goes pretty fast. Let's see. Here's another one. When I get to the very end and I can't put the ruler here anymore and it's no longer easy to cut the strips, I go ahead and I use my rotary cutting tool and my cutting mat that people use for quilting, and that's what I use to cut the rest of my strips. And in the next part of the video I'll actually show that when I do get to the very end. Right now I just wanted to show you how I use my guillotine cutter, and the fact that I use the binder clips to hold the papers together, and I use the ruler to hold the paper down. And that way you get accurate cuts almost every time. And using the ruler really helps with keeping the paper in place so it doesn't slip on you. And every bead that you cut using this method that is layered in this set will be exactly the same. And I'm going to keep on going until I can't go anymore. And let's keep going. Alright, I'm going to end the video right now so that I can get on and finish this sheet. And in the next section you will see how I cut the other end. Okay, now I'm at the point where I can't cut anymore with the paper cutter, so I'm going to use my rotary cutter, a special ruler that I use that people use for quilting, and a quilting mat. And the way I do it is I turn it around so that the clips are facing my right, and I line the paper up and the ruler up, put the ruler on the left, and then I line the edge of the ruler on the dotted lines, get them as close and accurate as I possibly can, and by adding pressure to the cutter and the ruler, hopefully they won't slide. It does take a little practice, but it can be done. Okay, so I pull the paper away from the ruler and not the other way around. And my paper tends to stick to the ruler. So I'm going to do the second one. Line it up carefully. And cut the next one. And you can get fairly close to the binder clips, all the way almost to the last one. And I think that's basically it. I can do one more. I'm going to have to take off the binder clips because of this one on the bottom. It's too close. So I'm just going to move that over. Actually, I think I'm going to just turn them all the way around. Put that one here. Put this one on this side. And I can release this red one altogether. And I'm going to cut this triangle off first because it's waste. It's not needed. Pull it away from the ruler, push it aside, and I can do one more cut. So I'm going to line it up, as best as I can. This old cutting mat's a little bit warped, just a little bit, so I have a hard time getting straight cuts. That's why I only use it for the end cuts. And that's that. That one's done. And the white sections you can use for waist beads. Any of them that don't turn out perfect you can use as waist beads on the ends of your strings. Basically these are all the strips that I cut from that one sheet. Well, actually it's 2 sheets of scrapbook paper that are exactly the same. I could have layered 4 or 5 of them, but I really only wanted 2 sheets worth of this size strip. 5/8 inch at one end and nothing at the other. And that's basically it. That's it for this segment. Thank you very much. See you later. Okay, this next video is going to be how I use a marking template to mark 12 by 12 or any other size of paper that you want to make paper beads from. This is a brand new template going to be available on Etsy in a day or so. And I just finished designing the pages today. It's different from anything else that I've been using. Basically what it is a series of sheets of paper that have the measurements across the top, a bunch of lines, and it fills the whole page. And you cut the paper into strips along the dotted lines, and you're going to end up with 25 strips that you can then use a temporary glue stick to actually put the strips of paper onto your 12 by 12 or whatever size paper that you want to use. This eliminates the need to use pencil marks and a ruler, makes it a lot faster and easier, and I'm going to demonstrate how to use it right now. So I have my 8.5 by 11 sheet that I printed on the printer. This one is 5/8 inch by 1/8 inch. And the measurements are listed for you on each strip. So you can go ahead and print off a strip, cut it all into pieces to get them ready, put them into storage. So when you want to make beads that are 5/8 inch at one end, 1/8 inch at the other, you just pull out some strips. You tape them or you glue them across the top and across the bottom of the paper you want to cut. and then just cut mark to mark. And this is how you use it. I'm taking this sheet, I'm going to cut off the top, line it up carefully. Again, you can use a rotary cutter or you can use a pair of scissors for this. I'm cutting as close to the top as I can, and then using my ruler to stabilize the paper, I'm going to cut across on the dotted line. And since I'm doing 12 by 12 and these are 8.5 inch strip papers and I need 24 inches, I'm going to cut 3 of these. Okay, there's one. But of course you can cut all the way across if you want to, all the way down the sheet all at once. So that way you don't have to do this for each and every sheet of paper you're going to do this on. And the way you use these, there's my 3 strips. Put that aside. And again, you won't need to use a pen or a pencil or anything like that. Okay, so this is what they look like all cut out. Little tiny strips. Also, on the end of this little strip, it tells you what type of bead this makes. Like this is a bicone. The way I classify the different types of beads is you have your tube bead, which is basically the same width on both ends, and then you have your barrel beads, where the taper is slightly less than the width of your bead or the length of your bead, and no more than half the length. A bicone is anything that is more than half is small. Like a 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch is half of a quarter. That would be considered a barrel bead. But a 1/8 inch to a 1/16 inch to a 1/4 inch would be considered a bicone. And since this 1/8 inch is less than half of the 5/8, then that's considered a bicone. Okay, so I have my strips, and then you want to get a piece of scrap paper, and let's see if I can find one here. Scrap paper, it can be anything that was used before for whatever reason, because you're going to be putting glue on it, so you want to protect your surface. So you flip the sheet over like this, the strip. See, I'm recycling paper. Okay, so you put the glue on the back side, just like that. And you're going to want to do that with 2 of them anyway. Okay. And since we're actually using 3 strips, you can use a pair of scissors just to go ahead and cut the 3rd one in half. So that way you can use that for the other side, for the extra that you're going to need. Okay, and I'm going to glue those in just a second here. Okay. Alright, so let's glue that. And let's put glue on this. Okay. And so I have a surface to work on. I'm going to set this aside and pull up my first 12 by 12 scrapbook paper. And one way that I'm going to be able to do more than 1 sheet at the same time, I'm just going to put it on 1 sheet and then stack it. So here's the first one. Okay, you're going to line this up with the very top edge, and you're going to line the edge of the markings to the corner, just like that, and you're going to seal it down. Okay, so you're going to take one of the short pieces, and you're going to line up the edge. If you need to, go ahead and cut this end off that is overhanging so you can line it up better, and put it on the edge of this one and go to the edge. Not quite long enough, but you get the idea. If you need more, you can always cut another strip so you have more. Okay, and then you turn that. Let me get another strip cut. Okay. Thought I'd have enough, but they're not quite 8 inches long. Okay, there's my fourth cut. And I only need a little bit for that end, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut starting at the wide end right there, and then I'm going to glue the back of that on my scrap paper. And believe it or not, this is the very first time that I am using this template. Believe it or not, very first time. I have not tried this yet with these strips. So I'm going to line this up on the very end and hang over the end. Go ahead and let it dry. Okay, and then I'm going to take my other strips. I know that I'm going to need another one. So let's see, I'm going to turn this around and we're going to repeat with the other side. I'm going to cut this end off. And I don't know if you noticed, but it actually ended with the 1/8 inch at the very end. So when you do the other side, make sure that you start with the 5/8 inch at the top, and that way it'll line up correctly. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So 5/8 inch at the upper top corner, which we have right here. Okay, all the way across. Okay, then the next one, we're going to line that up right next to the first one. And then the last one, we've got that other little piece. We're going to need to start with the wide end, which is the 5/8 inch. Looks like we only need one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right there. And you can save the extras for future use just by saving them in a drawer or a bag or wherever you want to. I'm going to put some glue on the back side of this one. And set that aside and glue my end to it. Cut off the end. Okay. And there we go. It's all marked. Now we're ready to cut. Okay, so I'm going to start here with my 1/8 inch at the top end and the 5/8 at the bottom. Lift that up. You can also use the rotary tool, and you can also use scissors if you want. But if you use scissors, you're going to want to connect the lines with pencil first. But here, since I'm using a guillotine cutter, I'm not going to bother. And line up the marks, top and bottom, very carefully. And if you're wondering what I'm going to be doing with all the little tiny scraps, well, they come right off because it's temporary glue. And since it's made with recycled paper, it's not really a waste because you've recycled it. Okay. And there's my first cut. Perfect. Done. Now I'm going to go with the second cut. 1/8 inch at the bottom. And 5/8 at the top. Line it up carefully. Use the ruler to fold your paper down. That stabilizes it. And I'll do a few more just for demonstration purposes. Okay. And these are not actually that expensive. I believe this set of 5/8 inch, well, I don't have my chart in front of me, but I've got the prices going to be on the website soon. As of September 5th, they should be available to purchase. That's how, you know, new this is. And I'm not even done building the web pages, but they will be available on my Etsy page. And they won't be that expensive. I'm going to have 17, I believe there's 17 templates in all, but I'm not sure on that. Different sizes, ranging from 1/8 inch all the way up to 2 inches is what I'm offering. And like I said, they're not going to be that expensive. One of the packages actually has a set of 3 templates, which has 9 pages in it. Or I should say 3 sizes with 9 templates in it. It's the 1/8 inch, the 1/4 inch, and the 3/8 inch are all in one set. And then all the other sizes are their own set. But the 5/8 inches is its own set. Okay, now that they're all cut, we've got the little edges, or the little pieces at the top and bottom, and basically all you do is take them off. It's as quick and easy as that, and just dump them into your little trash bin. And then you'll be all done. And when you get to the very last one and it won't work in the cutter anymore, just go ahead and use a rotary cutter. I didn't bother stacking this sheet because I forgot. But that's basically, I wanted to show you how easy it is to take these off. And it's a good thing to do in front of, you know, watching videos, Netflix. You can even take them off as you roll them up. And they can go all in the trash. Very simple, very easy. And so that's it. All done. Goodbye.